Hello YouTube, my name's James and I'm here with Gareth today, and we are here to talk about the OnePlus 3. Now this is a phone that people are really excited about. We know it's coming on June 14th. They're going to announce it in a virtual reality press conference on that day. It's called the Loop. It's a space station kind of theme thing. You'll be able to tune into it on the day if you've got a Google Cardboard, something like that to use.
Or you've got the fact that the OnePlus are actually sending out the VR headsets themselves as well. They look pretty fancy from what we're seeing render-wise. Yeah, so being in the loop, I think, is the name for it on purpose. But I mean, so what we're going to see, Pexi, on that day, I mean, the rumours are getting pretty obvious. The leaks are coming thick and fast. Is it going to be a good phone?
I'm hoping so. It looks, OnePlus is known for low price, high spec, and that seems to be what we're going to get again this year. Some people weren't that impressed by the OnePlus 2 last year. I think that may heal those wounds.
I think that's fair. I mean, the OnePlus 2 wasn't really as good as it could be. The OnePlus 1, everyone really enjoyed it, or just the OnePlus phone. But the OnePlus 2, the sandstone back, it tried to be a bit higher spec, missed out on some key things. NFC was a big miss, I feel. People didn't like that. So the OnePlus 3, from what we've seen, could be the phone to bring this back up again, but it really depends on the price. So first of all, design, what have we seen so far?
So far we are seeing a metal design, which is what people have really been begging for. The sandstone back, as you were saying, didn't really go down that well. So it does look like we're going to get that premium design finally. It looks a little bit like a HTC One A9, I would say. That's what the renders we've seen look like.
Yeah, I mean, HTC One, anything metal unibody nowadays all seem to follow the same design language. But I mean, while some people might miss the fact that you can't interchange the covers and make it your own on the back, I don't think that's a bad thing. If the renders do come true, I think that's a really nice looking phone. It looks very solid. A 5.5 inch screen is what we're thinking. That's actually quite wide in the hand, so something metal that you really can hold and get physical with is exactly what we want to see.
So 5.5 inch screen is what we're seeing so far. Some people want a QHD this time. It doesn't look like that's going to come off at the moment. The benchmarks are looking at a 1080p.
Well, that's exactly the problem right now for smartphones, because we have 1080p screens are good enough, but if you're going to be a flagship killer, which is what OnePlus wants to be with all its top end phones, you need to have the specs to beat it, really. And I think it depends how people take that. I mean, you don't really need a 2K QHD screen, but 1080p might be a little bit on the low side.
Especially for a phone that's being announced in VR. 1080p for VR headsets doesn't really work that well.
But one thing that will be back is NFC, it seems, and that's a really good thing for a lot of OnePlus fans.
That's a really good thing for everyone, I think. The reason they took NFC off of the OnePlus 2 is that customers weren't using NFC enough on the OnePlus 1. Now, that was 2014, that was a different kind of era. You've got mobile payments and everything now that are being used for NFC. It makes sense to bring it back. Android Pay is out now in the UK and the US, so it makes sense to bring that feature back.
You want the beeper technology. I agree with OnePlus, it probably wasn't used enough in the OnePlus 2 era, but now it's definitely coming through. It's definitely something we should have. I think something we don't know a lot about so far is the camera. We haven't heard a lot of rumours about, I think, a 16 megapixel sensor on the back.
And 8 megapixel on the front is what we're looking at the moment.
So, I mean, we've seen Samsung, we've seen Apple go for 12 megapixels. Is this just OnePlus saying, you know what, let's boost it up a little bit and just have a better spec device?
Yeah, it seems like it. I really want the camera to be great on this phone. The OnePlus 2 camera was kind of okay. It wasn't really thrilling in any way.
It was average.
And the flagship phones at the moment are getting fantastic cameras. So if it wants to be that flagship killer again, it really does need a good camera.
But the thing with OnePlus, obviously, they have to buy off-the-shelf off-the-shelf sensors, so it's about optimization, seeing what they can do. We haven't heard a lot about the camera so far, beyond the spec of it, so let's see exactly what comes out from that.
One of the other big things that we've seen in some of the spec leaks is 6 GB of RAM.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
Exactly. Why do you think that?
Well, I mean,
that's
we've
something
seen it
OnePlus
from ZTE, we've seen it from Asus recently. I've not seen any use case. I mean, we've asked the questions, no one's given us a good reason yet. It's great to have that much power, but these are still smartphones, and you're not going to be doing heavy-duty lifting, video editing, processing, sharpening, all these kinds of things that you really benefit from it. I mean, even, I think the iPad Pro doesn't even have that much, and that's a device designed for designers on the go. So I see this as literally a spec bump for the sake of it, and I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a shame.
So the real big question though is still price. That's the reason people buy OnePlus phones. They want a flagship price. They want a flagship phone, for a low price. They don't want to pay the Samsung Galaxy S7 kind of price. What do we know about that so far?
Well, I mean, it looks like we'll see two variants. There will be a 4 GB of RAM version with maybe lower memory internally. That will be, I think, at the lower end of the scale, sort of around I think just over $300. Is that right? And then 6 GB of RAM, a little bit more internal memory. That'll be around, I think, $359. So roughly the same as we've had so far, which is exactly what you need, because OnePlus does need to be sort of a few $100s cheaper than the rest of the market. So if that comes to pass, it'll be exactly what people want, and the specs will be boosted, which is exactly what we need to see.
Would you be that upset though if there was a slight price bump? If there was a you would be.
I would. I don't. OnePlus's thing is that it has to have high. I mean, I don't know how it does it. I don't know how you make the margins, but you have to have a high spec phone for a low price, and we have to wonder how you do it. That's the way OnePlus works.
No matter what, we know this is going to be a really, really exciting phone. We don't know if it's going to be any good yet, but people are getting really excited about it. So let us know in the comments below what you think is going to come from the OnePlus 3.
And thank you very much for liking. Thank you very much for subscribing. And of course, thanks for stopping by.